computer, not so there. We are now recording. Um, Questions during the presentation, you should enter into chat. After Robin has finished her presentation, I will take the questions from chat first, and then we will take live questions if there are still questions there. I think that's all the standard housekeeping. Oh, more people are here. There is no handout today. So don't worry, you haven't missed it. It is not there. And all of that said, I think it's time to have our speaker talk instead of me. So we have Robin Meltzer from the Jewish Genealogical Society of Greater Washington, who is a former retired attorney.
Yep, still at it.
Okay. And she's going to be explaining how we can use social media to our advantage in our genealogical pursuits. So, Robin, take it away.
Okay. I would just like to preface this for a few moments with some of the other things that I do that inform this presentation. I am a co-admin on Tracing the Tribe, which was founded by Shelley Talalay Dardashti, and I have my co-admins Roger Lustig, also of Jersig, a scholar of German Jewry and history, and Laura Munzer, who is absolutely indispensable. So we work as a team, and Tracing the Tribe is about 82,000 counts, something like that. So I've been at that for about 11 or 12 years. So all kinds of things that happen on social media, I've seen a lot of those. And I also am a co-founder with my cousin Lynn Epstein of Jewish Genealogy for Syracuse, New York, called Jewish Community of the 15th Ward. And we're also on Facebook, and I will talk about that later in the presentation. But basically, I've seen what can go right. I've seen what can go wrong. And today, I hope to share that with you. So now I'm going to share screen. Go to hopefully full screen. Okay. Very good. So this presentation is about using social media for genealogic research, the good, the bad, and the exceedingly strange. And I've got some great strange things to show you about that. So I'm sure many of you have been working on genealogic research for your own family, for your friends' families for many years. And you know that there are more resources, records resources online every day, birth, marriage, and death registries from countries we never thought we'd see, from states we never thought would release them. Thank you, Reclaiming the Records, Brooke Schreier-Gans, for that. You can see things from the comfort of your home that you may never have found any other way, or may have had to travel very long distances to go to the archives to consult these records on your own. So we have records in abundance, lots and lots of facts. But what about the good stuff? The things at the very top of your wish list, family stories. If your family won't talk about its history, won't tell their stories to you, maybe someone else knows them. Family photos. Nothing more disheartening to find out that your aunt cleared out the attic and didn't bother to tell you. Family letters, correspondence, ephemera, the sources that bring life to those facts, the sources that answer the why and not just the when and the where. So, social media. You need to think of this as people, as a genealogic resource. Not records, not dry facts, but living people whose memories have the stories that you want, and attics and basements having the photos and ephemera that you want. So I want to start with a case study on using social media for genealogic research that I call the Great Bakery Quest. The baker in question is my paternal grandfather, Mose Meltzer, who is from Kurinitz, and he emigrated and settled in Syracuse, New York in the early 1900s. this is how I remember him, how he looked when I remember him. This is May 1969. And for much of his life, he was a shoemaker or bootmaker like his father. And he did this when he first landed at the Nettleton Shoe Company in Syracuse. And later on, he had his own shoe repair shop on Harrison Street in the 15th Ward of Syracuse. And this is a photo of him at his workbench. So there was a bit of a mystery. When the Great Depression hit, manufacturing took a hit as well, and many people became unemployed, and unfortunately, including my grandfather, and he had to seek other work. And the story in the family was that he either worked for a bakery, had something to do with a bakery for about a 6-year period, sometime in the very late 20s, early 30s, and that he was a real community resource during this time, that the bakery was very important in the life of the community. And he looked about like this. He's the tall gentleman on the right. This was taken at a picnic of a political organization. It could be Workmen's Circle. It may have been one of the Yiddish cultural groups that he was active in. I have shown this picture to many, many, many people, and I will continue to do so. So if this looks familiar to any of you, I have no idea who these other people are. And I keep asking because it never hurts to ask. So anyway, when he became involved in being a baker, he looked about like this. And so what was someone to do in the early 80s, mid 80s? Pre-internet solo searching. So I asked questions of my relatives who told me it was a wonderful bakery, that the rolls and the challahs were wonderful, that it was a happening place, that everyone was always there. But they didn't remember exactly where it was or the name of it. I interviewed family neighbors, some school classmates of my father's who lived in the same area. And one of them remembered part of the name, and also that it was a wonderful place to go after school, and their mothers would send them there to do the grocery shopping. I went to the local historical association and looked at their vertical files. Nothing. I ended up at the public library local history section, and they had a city directory, and I was very sure at that point by then that we were talking about the Purity Cooperative Bakery, which was in the heart of the 15th Ward, and everything made sense about that. So I had some lovely facts, some provable facts, but I still didn't really know what went on there. And people had sort of general recollections, but nothing very specific. So then the internet happened. And with that, increasingly innumerable sources, indexed periodicals. I checked newspaper indices, not so much, but little trickles of information. But then for genealogy, we understood that the power of it, the real power of it, was in connecting to people for answering questions like this, because this is the kind of material that's not going to show up except on very rare chance in any kind of community record. So after the internet, I found on the 1930 census that my grandfather, the highlighted box at the top, was, quote, a laborer in a bakery, because that was the category that they had. But I got the feeling that he didn't just work there, that there was something more to it. So what's a person to do? In about 2011, after unfortunately just about everyone who knew anything directly had passed away, my cousin Lynn Epstein said we should start a Facebook group for Syracuse Jewish genealogy, and we should get everybody together and see what they're squirreling away and get them to record their stories and share them. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. So we went live in December 2011, and people began to post their stories and their ephemera. Well, I'll show you some of this later in the presentation as well. So someone named Alan Blank, whom I did not know, and he grew up about a block away from where I did, said, I've got this old stuff that my father saved. It's in Yiddish. Would you like to take a look at it? I said, yes, please scan and send. Well, one of the things that Alan's father, Julius Blank, had saved was a workman's circle dinner program from 1933, apparently a statewide event. And for the Syracuse branch, they talked about the Purity Cooperative Bakery, where my grandfather, Mose Meltzer, was the manager. And there he is in this slightly grainy photo, standing behind the bakery counter. So I had my photograph. Because I had thought, well, if someone had taken a picture of Zadie in the shoe shop, maybe they took a picture of him in the bakery too. But this was an official workman's circle photo for their dinner journal. That wasn't the only thing. There he is with the board, and it's captioned with names. Oh boy, did this solve mysteries for people. Someone had never seen a picture of their grandfather, one of these other gentlemen, and now she had. There's a photograph of the exterior, which is very precious because the 15th Ward was demolished between about 1960 and 1966 to make way for the Interstate 81 branch and on-ramps, and also for something that they referred to as urban renewal, but I think it had a much more sinister purpose, honestly. I think they just wanted people to disappear. And they figured if you knock down the neighborhood, maybe everyone will go away. But that did not happen, obviously. But there were some, frankly, disturbing materials from that time about why we have to knock down the 15th Ward. So anyway, Julius Blank had the foresight to save this program. And I had pictures of my Zadie doing his bakery work in on site, and it's not so rare. There are a lot of business photographs. It's just you have to find them by getting people to show them to you, because often these are privately held and not held by historical associations. So, social media, connecting with people online, and your goal is to build a network of people that work together to accomplish what individuals working alone cannot, heading off to the library and the historical association and tape recording the ants. That's not going to cut it. Sometimes you have to work in a group. So how do you go about doing this? You go to various websites. So what is a social media site? It is a virtual, interactive, collaborative setting for sharing knowledge and opinions and creating new content. It's like a beehive for people. And sometimes that works, and most of the time it works, and it can be very productive, and you can do things that you absolutely cannot do on your own. So what can a genealogic social media network do? Methodology advice. Too often now I hear, oh, I took a DNA test. Is name A the same as name B because I have to squeeze this until it fits? Except no, it doesn't fit. So good old methodology is your friend, and experienced researchers can help you with that. Translation requests in and out of any language you can think of. There are groups for that. Deciphering difficult handwriting. Sometimes more cooks don't spoil that soup. Sometimes the eighth opinion is the right one. Identifying place names. When a name is repeated over time, over generations, it can get distorted, and sometimes a garbled name, someone will recognize that and be able to help you. Finding offline resources. Please keep in mind that way more than 50% of records are not online, nor are they indexed if they are online many times. So just looking things up in an indexed resource is not going to get you where you need to go. Identifying mystery photos and objects. I have some wonderful examples of those a little later. Finding long lost family branches. You can do that beautifully online. Finding unknown photos of your relatives in unindexed private collections, other people's attics and basements. So there's a lot your social network can do for you. What is good about this? Easy access from any device, from your phone, from your watch for some people. It's mostly free. Most social media platforms have free accounts. There are very enthusiastic volunteers, some of whom I really don't think sleep all that much. We have some of those people in Tracing the Tribe. There's a wider variety of members that at in-person meetings and conventions, and you never know who could be of help to you. You can make wonderful serendipitous connections, and it is so fast. You can do things in an afternoon that it would have taken years, if ever, pre-net. The not so good. Easy access from any device. Participants may not be screened or screened well. Some platforms have supposedly helpful automatic admission if you say a keyword or something, and this is terrible. And on Facebook, we have to fight these things continuously and keep turning them off because we need to screen, and you will see why. It's also free, so that leads to a lot of huge groups with inactive accounts or worse, fake accounts. You may have very enthusiastic volunteers who may not know what they are doing, but oh, do they want to help you? And that can be a problem. It's the same thing. You get a wide variety of members, but they may or may not know anything. So that can be a little dicey to navigate. You can have serendipitous connections that look great at the beginning, but they may not prove real. Also, that speed can lead to mistakes, especially with name-alikes. Okay, there are a lot of Meltzers in the world. Not all of them are my relatives. It's a occupational surname. It has to do with having a malt kiln for making beer. So it's the same thing as Milkarski in Polish. And then, unfortunately, and increasingly, there are harassment, scams, and negative behavior. So you do have to have your wits about you. Okay, so if you want to join a social media group on Facebook or anywhere else, you have to think about the screening and moderation, and you need to ask questions. How are prospective participants screened? Are there screening questions? I wouldn't join a group that does automatic admissions or AI admissions at this point because too many bad things can happen, and you have to look at them in person. And sometimes the moderators confer about, is this person someone we want to let in or not? So there's a lot of activity behind the scenes. What are the rules for posting and commenting? Read the group rules. If a group doesn't have rules, you probably don't want to be there. Are posts actively moderated? Sometimes people have a bad day, and sometimes they take it out on social media because they feel it's less consequential than yelling at actual live humans in front of them. But then you got to clean that up. Are moderators responsive? You want live humans running the show. You don't want the group to just trundle on with nobody watching. Safety first. Let's talk about security. Like anything else, don't reveal too much. Never post, for example, DNA kit numbers. Don't post social security numbers. Don't post your private email. If there's something that is too sensitive for you to give the details, don't do that online. If you're dealing with an adoption, a non-paternal event, someone who doesn't know they're adopted, someone who might not realize that their parents are not their parents or one parent isn't their parent, do not do that online where the whole world can see it. Do not do that. You may try to be anonymous. As I said, if you have to post something anonymously about genealogy, don't do that. Find another way. Social media is only going to cause you grief. There are scams, too many scams. Never send someone money. Let's say you post publicly on a group that you're looking for records or a record set for a particular town, and someone private messages you and says, oh, I am a researcher. I live there. I go to that archive. I have the first page here in a language you can't read of your grandfather's records. If you send me so many hundreds of dollars, I'll send you the rest. That is a scam. If someone contacts you like that, never respond. Never respond. If you really want to, send a message to a moderator and say, hey, this person contacted me. Screen cap the message or forward the message to a moderator and say, what should I do? Because legit researchers are on these groups and they are looking for business. But that person will contact you and say, hello, I am a legitimate researcher. Here is a link to my website. Please contact the moderators who will assure you I'm legitimate, but you really do have to contact the moderators. And I really think I can help you. Okay. And after you have a little back and forth, maybe you want to do that, particularly if the mod says, oh, yes, we know him, or so and so went to Poland and rode around with him for a week, or whatever it is. Make sure they are legitimate, because it is so easy to make a fake website. It is so easy to make to rip people off now. So be very careful. Never, ever, ever send someone money. Never, unless you have a valid research contract with that person and you've checked with experts who assure you that this is a real person and a real researcher. So, top 10 tips for successful social media participation. Please remember that the administrators and moderators are trying to help you. We really are trying to help you. We are not trying to get in your face for no reason. Please listen to administrators and moderators who are trying to communicate with you about something. 2, be respectful. You will not agree with everyone. Not everyone will agree with you. If you have a conflict, contact an admin or a moderator for help. Do not try to duke it out yourself. It never works, and we'll just ban everybody in the fight because it's easier for us. So you don't want that to happen to you. If it looks like it's going to be a fight, leave. Get out of it. Delete your post. It's fine. You can come back another day. Read the group rules and a lot of posts before posting yourself. Get to know how people get answered. Get to know what generates good answers. Ask the very best question that you can. We will come back to this one. If you are uncomfortable sharing information needed to answer a question, then just don't post that question. There are other ways. You can contact a mod or an admin on a big group and say, hey, what would you do? And get an answer. Like I said, we're in this because we want to help you. So ask us. Read all the comments in the thread before commenting. Do not repeat what is already there. It just takes up space. It doesn't help anything. If your question is answered, mark it solved, and then close the post. Close commenting, because if it's answered, you're done. Number 8, do not ask people to guess. Let's say you have a photo and you're trying to figure out the year it was taken. You're going to get all kinds of answers. You're going to get answers sometimes in a 50-year span of time. That will not help you. Do not ask people to guess what might this be or what might that be. Try to frame the question with the information that you have and ask for specific information. As it's not going to help you to guess. You could walk onto a crosstown bus and hold up the photo and say, do people think this is 1910 or 1920? That's not going to help you. Half the bus is going to say 1910, half the bus is going to say 1920. Not helpful. Number 9, for translation or identification requests, please post a clear image or images of the item, because we can't translate or identify what we can't see. And you would be surprised how often people say, oh, I found this thing and I think this is what it says. What do you think? It's like, well, can we see it? For those of you who have been to Genealogy Society meetings with an experts table or a Maven's table, it's like this: someone walking up to the table and saying, hey, I found this thing. Can you help me? It's out in the car. Like, how about you go out to the car and get it and then bring it in and then we can see. But saying that you have something online and then not posting it, it's the same problem. Number 10, perhaps the most important one, think before you type. If you're angry sitting at the keyboard, if you're having a bad day, if you think that this other person in the thread is just an annoyance, walk away. Come back when you're calmer, then continue to participate, but do not start fights on groups. A word about the genealogic proof standard. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, but for those of you who are not, it bears repetition, because like any other resource, social media or genealogy, you need to apply the standard to what you do. Conducting a reasonably exhaustive search. That involves asking good questions, perhaps asking several questions, collecting and including a complete and accurate cite to all sources. Well, there are guides to citing information that you get on social media, but hopefully you're also going to be pointed at some kind of a record source to back some of this up. So there are guides to genealogic citation online, several of them. Whatever form you use of citation, just make sure you're consistent in using it. So if someone tells you something on a Facebook group, at least write down the name of the Facebook group, the name of the person, the date that they told you this information, and if you can, screen cap that thread and include that in your materials, because sometimes people delete posts, sometimes there are glitches and posts disappear. Oh yes, another hint. If you're on a group and a post disappears, there are two reasons, well, maybe three. One, a moderator took it down, but if that happens, you'll know. Two, the person who posted it took it down for whatever reason. Maybe a cousin got at them and said, you shouldn't have posted about uncle online. They just take the whole thing down. Third, with big groups, this is more frequent. It can just disappear. Server problems. Post just goes. And it's nobody's fault. So if something wonderful happened for you online, please make a copy of it for yourself and keep it. That way, if it goes or it gets deleted, you're safe. You still need to analyze and correlate this information with other information that you have. If someone tells you something that conflicts with something that you've already found, particularly a solid source, you're going to have to work that out later. But yes, note that that information conflicts in your research log. I really hope people are keeping research logs. They're immensely helpful. And then obviously you have to use this new information to arrive at a soundly reasoned and coherently written conclusion. So even though this is a non-traditional source, you still have to apply the rules. Asking good questions. You know more than you think you do. You know much, much more than you think you do. This question happens all the time. My grandmother had a brother in Russia. We don't know anything more. Can you help me? Well, yes. The first thing we can do is teach you that you know more than you think you do. You probably know your grandmother's name. Hopefully you know the names of your grandmother's parents, perhaps other siblings. You know, hopefully, when and where your grandmother was born, if she came over, when she came over. Hopefully there's a manifest or citizenship papers involved in that. So you have a lot of facts. So this is what the question becomes. And yes, use names whenever possible. My grandmother, Fega Dombrowska Goldberg, born about 1900 in Plock, who's the daughter of Joseph and Tilly Dombrowski, immigrated to the U.S. in 1904. Here's her manifest. She had an older brother. He did not immigrate. We don't know his given name. We'd like to find out what became of him. Now, that's something you can use. That's something that an experienced researcher can turn into an actual result. So really think when you ask a question, what do I know and how much should I say? So if you know names, places, if you found records for this person, post them. We'll help you from there, but at least try to meet us halfway with these things. It will get you better results on social media groups. Please do not ask, could someone who used name A have also used name B? The answer is always yes, 100%. No rules about this. People use all kinds of names, secular names, religious names, nicknames across languages. People can have 12 or 13 given names that they use throughout life, not to mention all the surnames that people use. A question like this. My uncle's name was Herman. What was his Hebrew name? There is no way to determine a secular name from a Jewish, also Hebrew name, but it can be in any language or vice versa. Is, fill in the surname, a Jewish name? Very few surnames are exclusively Jewish. You cannot tell Jewish status based on surname. Please don't try. For an event you can prove, don't ask how common was it. People will come after you for that one. Try, why would this have happened? Ask for sources for additional research. Because if you know something happened, it doesn't matter whether it was common or not. It matters that it happened and that you can prove that it happened. And now you have to try to find out the why. Big, big no-no. Do not repeat the myth. that your family's given names or surnames were changed at Ellis Island or any other U.S. port of entry. Arriving passengers were matched against lists or manifests prepared at the port of embarkation. U.S. personnel did not write new lists of names or otherwise change names. U.S. personnel were multilingual. There is no language barrier. There is no accent problem. There were translators on call for rarer languages, or if the entry clerk, for some reason, did not speak the language of the immigrant. But absolutely, if there's a story in your family, oh, the clerk didn't understand him because of his accent, or the clerk didn't speak Yiddish. No, no, it just did not happen. Why did this myth start? Besides that horrible scene of The Godfather, this is wrong. It never happened. Never happened. Names were often changed at school registration shortly after arrival. So particularly for children arriving, they're in one big line in this strange new place where they don't speak the language. And the next day they're in another line in a strange new place where they didn't speak the language. But in school registration, it was very, very common for teachers or administrators to anglicize names of arriving children. My maternal grandfather tells the story that he showed up at school to be registered, and the teacher said to him, "Oh, you're a nice Jewish boy. We'll call you Abi." And the family, being very law-abiding and somewhat nervous about being in a brand new country, said, "Abraham it is." And he used that name as a secular name throughout life. So yes, names were changed, but at school, not at any port of arrival, including Ellis Island. Another no-no, cross-posting. What is cross-posting? Posting the same question to more than one group at the same time, particularly translation requests and record lookup requests. It's also not nice to ask basically people who are paying for a paid account at a genealogy service, can you do a lookup for me for free? Don't do that. That's when you go to your library. Libraries have subscription to most of these things, and you can do your lookup there by yourself. But it's really kind of rude to ask someone to go into their account, which they pay for, and do something for you for free. Some people will do this, but at Tracing the Tribe, we tend not to allow that. If you post to a group, don't receive an answer, close that post and then post elsewhere. Don't leave it dangling. It volunteers duplicate work. It drives people crazy. Don't do it. There is an exception to this. If you are seeking long-lost relatives, if you are seeking descendants of long-lost relatives, post everywhere, but note in your post that you have cross-posted and where you cross-posted. Okay? That's okay, because you're looking for people. You can post everywhere you can. But if you want someone to do work for you, translation, lookups, interpretation, only post one place. Then if that doesn't work, close that post, go elsewhere. Facebook. It's one of the most popular places for networking. There are groups of all kinds, all sizes. As I mentioned, I am a co-admin on Tracing the Tribe, people from over 100 countries, something like 82,000 accounts. There's very little we can't do for you right on the group for free. People post all the time saying, "Can you point me to an experienced genealogy researcher for such and such a country?" It's like, we probably don't need to. We can probably do it for you right here, right now. I once asked group founder Shelley Talalay Dardashti, Tracing the Tribe grew out of her Jerusalem Post column, "It's All Relative." And I asked Shelley, "Can you find me a meme about what it's really like here behind the scenes?" And she loves this one. So I'm sharing that with you because, yeah, sometimes there are days. Okay. Remember I talked about screening prospective members and how you don't want AI to do that for you or automatic functions to do that for you? Well, here's why. Here's some actual membership request posts that we said no to. Okay. I was Eve, the first woman in the world. I am about to prove to the world that the anaconda snake was right, and I am now a god. What are your research brick walls? I inspired all religious texts for different reasons and all Disney characters to But do you agree to the rules from the admins? I agree. And there are some groups that have settings like, as long as they agree to the rules, let them in. Well, nah, not this time. And this is real. This is a real person. I did not make this up. Another prospective member that we said no to. I made a baby with what I thought was an alien life form so I could save the planet from its fiery end. We didn't let this person in either for good reasons. Um, one of our screening questions, what Jewish families are you researching? Yahweh, Levine, King David, well, I'm researching also Levine, King David, Lucifer, Jesus Christ, Constantine, and Neron. So that was a no. This one was very recent. I'm not sure where this person is. It's not a bot. It's a real person. I actually looked. They specialize in reading astrology readings, love spells, and black magic removal in New York. We said no. Then we get this every so often. My ancestry is completed to Adam and Eve, and I would like to post mine. Well, we would rather you not do that. People offer us things. Someone offered to send us this stack of rainbow books about a global constitution, world under one rule. Not quite what we do, so we said no. This is a legit person, needs a little help. Um, so during the pandemic, a lot of people, to prevent themselves from going stir crazy, decided to try genealogy, and this is one of those. This is a very nice person. We set this person straight very gently and nicely because they asked it sincerely. This is a crazy post. I finished up my family's tree as best I could with the help of many on this site and turned my attention to my husband's family. He is of English-Irish descent. While researching his Welsh background on FamilySearch.org, I found that I can trace his lineage back to, no joke, Abraham, as in the biblical Abraham. The site is maintained by the Mormon Church and every descendant is verified. Well, no. Has anyone else had this experience? Unfortunately, yes. Doesn't this seem impossible? It is. I'm very interested in hearing people's thoughts. So we contacted this person. There are a number of sort of theologic political groups that there are books by some of these groups that basically claim that certain European kings or royal lines were descended from certain biblical figures. And some people in the Victorian era made these beautiful charts. They're visually beautiful. They're all bunk. They're bunk. But you have to tell that to people gently. But some people believe it, and then you need to take some action. So let's talk about good stuff. Good stuff, good questions that happen on tracing the tribe. This is a great question. Does anyone know if you can check Polish Army records? And she gives very specific information about her grandfather and the years and the locations and all the names he used and something about his history. And someone had very relevant, specific information and the website of the source and advice for searching and ideas for joining other groups and further research. So this is where you get that rare person who can really answer your question and answer it beautifully. This is where social media can really work for you. Family reunions. Part of this reunion happened on tracing the tribe. We were able to get these two people pointed toward one another and then able to confirm that indeed the connection was real. And it took a lot of people to make that reunion happen, a lot of information from a lot of people. Sometimes people post things. Not all objects owned by Jews have a Jewish purpose. People came up with some very interesting explanations for what this is and Jewish ritual uses. It is an ashtray. It is an ashtray. Okay, not Judaic, just an ashtray. These come up every so often. They're souvenirs, shell carving for the tourist trade was very common in the South Pacific, but it was also done at state fairs and carnivals, things like that. So if you have one of these in the family, it may be that you had a service member who was in the South Pacific. It could be that someone went to a state fair. But people find them and then they think all kinds of things. But no, it's a souvenir. Most of them are between 80 and 100 years old. Some of them are a little older. Um, but it's an interesting thing, but it's a souvenir. It doesn't say very much about your genealogy, but it may clue you in that certain people in your family had certain language skills, which can be an important clue later on. I like this one. My grandmother's bowl has a hidden mug and dove design, and it's a bottom of I think, a pressed glass bowl. And so someone said, that doesn't look like a six-pointed star. I see 10, but I could be wrong. And then she says, well, she did say the Magen David was hidden. So that was kind of cute. Again, not all objects owned by Jews or people you think are Jews have any Judaic meaning. This is great. This happened about a year ago. Someone got this antique poster for the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus, advertising this as an intermediate days of Passover, Holomoid Pesach activity. It's like today people go to Hershey Park. Hershey Park has special days. Certain like Six Flags have like special days for Passover where schools come, families come. This one was for Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey, so I translated it for the person, and we're not quite sure what year it is. But it's before 1940, we know that, because of the address of Madison Square Garden and certain features of the printing. So yeah, this wasn't exactly genealogy, but it was just too good, so we said yes. Another funny thing. So this was earlier during the pandemic. What is there to do while confined at home? I now have us tied back to Adam and Eve. They've been working very hard. And then someone posted, oh, yes, yes, you can do this. And there are books that have been written. Again, I'm sorry, these books are bunk. They're funny, but they're not resources. Don't use them. Then sometimes people's cats get into it, cat on keyboard, and it won't let me edit. Yeah, that was kind of funny. Cat gets in on it. Okay, what's this? Some of you are going to recognize this right off. For those of you who don't recognize it, we'll get to what it is. But it's a group of men in costumes on a stage, and judging from the suits of the men on the left and the right, this is early 60s. And the person who posted it to Tracing the Tribe had a little bit of the when and where. Sometime before 1969, it was taken in Binghamton. Well, my father, Sanford Meltzer, was a Grand Steward, Masonic Grand Steward in New York. And so I grew up with Masonry, and I realized that this is a group photo of a Masonic degree, an educational play that Masons put on to explain moral principles. Okay. And this is the third degree, the third Masonic degree. And it's a significant point in someone's Masonic career to participate in the putting on of this play, this called a degree. And so I recognized this was a third degree play. So I said, because it was Binghamton and it's close to Syracuse, please consider posting this to 15th Ward, because Masons tend to know each other, lodges tend to do things together, and people might recognize individual names. So someone put in some information about the photographer who was well known in the area, and I suggested, contact Johnson City Lodge. Masonic lodges maintain archives, and they regularly submit the contents of those archives to their state lodge, and state lodges also submit things to the national organization. So if for some reason you're looking for Masonic records, you can get them. You may have to ask more than once and to more than one place, but you may find these things about your own relatives. So then the group gets in on the deal, and this is where things can go wrong. Someone said, oh, the background looked like an orchard in Israel. Maybe it's a porn play. Not all Jews in costumes are doing a porn play. There are other reasons, okay? Um, then someone said, oh, it's an amateur Shakespeare group or a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court. And someone says, no, it's Oddfellows. No, it's not. So someone said it's the Mikado. Then someone said Scottish Rite, which is a branch of Masonry, but no, this is third degree, some Purim. And I said, everybody, please read the comments. This is not a Purim play. And then the poster said, since I posted this, she found someone who could identify it. So she says, it is a group of Masons from Binghamton who are putting on a Purim play. And I am like, no, this is a Masonic degree. Hopefully that got across. Okay. Think local. Think local. And you'd be surprised how local you can get with online groups. Here is a wonderful group that was founded by Alan Blank, he who got me that miraculous Workman's Circle booklet. He made a group for the street he grew up on, Ellis Street, which was very close to where I lived on Crowley Street. And this is an amazing active group. People post pictures of their birthday parties where they're all dressed up. And it is just priceless, these photos and these stories and these memories. Ellis Street is actually still there. It looks a little different, but you can at least see those houses still. So why do we think locally? This was opposed to tracing the tribe. It happened to be about Syracuse, so I got interested very fast. He is trying to solve a family mystery about where his relative is buried in Syracuse, and he finds a reference on the death certificate to Jamesville Gate. Now, the reason why death certificates in Syracuse may say Jamesville Gate as opposed to the name of the cemetery is because the cemeteries had names like Anshe Sfard and Avis Achim, and the clerks could not pronounce these names or spell them. So on death certificates, they just started saying Jamesville Gate because the gates to the cemeteries were on Jamesville Ave. So that's why if you see that, you have to still find the cemetery name. So again, someone who knows the local community can tell you that. But if you're looking for a cemetery named Jamesville Gate, good luck. It's not there. So I saw this and I recognized the name from my work in local Syracuse genealogy. And I said, well, we can find the headstone. And I explained about Jamesville Gate and Jamesville Avenue, and that there is a funeral service, Birnbaum Funeral Service, that's been open for almost 90 years. And they have their all original records. They have all their records, funeral homes for record stores. If you haven't tried this, I know a lot of them are closed, but some of them are not. It's worth the checking. So he was able to find the photograph, but then I had something more for him because his ancestor had an important role in the community as a teacher. Actually, his son had an important role in the community as a teacher. And I knew someone who was his student, who at that point was in her 90s and was willing to speak with him. So I got the two of them together and they were able to speak by phone. So yes, he got his headstone picture, but he also was able to speak to someone who knew his family and could tell those stories. And this only people can bring you. There are a few community story archives, but it's still, the person is much better than the paper. So creating new resources. If you can't find what you want, try your hand at this. Make a new group on Facebook. You can do it in 30 seconds. So simple. You have to get the word out, and it's slow to build sometimes. But my gosh, what you can do. And the case study at the beginning, it's like I did everything you could do. I mean, I suppose I could have looked up like the tax records for the bakery or the incorporation records for the bakery, but that wasn't a picture of my Zadie behind the counter. That's what I wanted, because I figure if someone did it for the shoe shop, maybe someone did it for the bakery. Turned out not a relative, but it existed. So different kinds of local resources, European communities. This is a wonderful active group on Facebook. Um, check and check again, because there are new groups every day. Someone might have actually already done the work that you are seeking to do. So check and check again. My cousin Lynn Epstein and I have a group for the town of Meadl. People last name Kladush or something close. So we have Paul Richard. Pardon me. Okay. So there are now more than 100 people, and we're comparing notes and making very good progress. And then we have the Jewish community, the 15th Ward. If you have roots in Central New York, please, please, please join us. We can help you. I probably know your relatives. And we've done a lot of work on 15th Ward. We actually put together 3 documentaries. Jay Lurie, who's a producer, was one of the first people to join the group. And about, I don't know, a year and a half in, he said, gosh, I think I want to do a short, like a 10-minute short. I'm like, sure, I'm game. And I had a production background also. So he basically wore a trough in the thruway, because at that point he was based in Buffalo, going back and forth to Syracuse and interviewing people and looking at records. And I was doing what I could in DC, and I also made a few trips home. And we put together 3 documentaries over time. The third one entirely online, but with some live footage as well. And it's incredible what we were able to accomplish as a group. And all of this started with that Facebook group. All of that rooted in that Facebook group. So you never know where your work can lead you. And then we had another serendipitous event. Someone posted this photo, and her ancestor is on the right in the cap. And My Report Daily posted this photo, and she said, I think there are some of your relatives, the Hoduses, in this picture. And yes, the man with the mandolin is my great uncle. And I had only seen him posed in formal portraits before. But there he is, just out at a picnic with his friends, having a good time. And I found out he passed away before I was born. But I found out so much about him from this photograph and just his expression, and that, he's with other people and he's just out enjoying himself. And it turns out that the family still has that mandolin. So serendipity. Places you may not have looked in terms of genealogic resources. Tumblr. It's not the hot happening place anymore, but my gosh, there is so much there. So I haven't, if you just search very broadly like genealogy, boy, will you find stuff, and just scroll through, see what catches your eye. All kinds of places, all kinds of resources. Then I tried searching Jewish genealogy on Tumblr, and you get more specific. There were some wonderful resources noted there. Then I tried getting more specific about Pinsk, because I have an interest in Pinsk in my maternal family. So there were photos I had never seen before. And I have been looking into Pinsk since the mid-'80s. And I have been to archives, and I thought I had seen all the well-known sets, but there were new materials here. And again, check back. You never know what someone may be posting. Reddit. There's nothing that's not on Reddit. It's not just for like fixing your printer or your refrigerator's making this noise. There are so many genealogy communities on Reddit. And again, new ones every day, and you can create your own. And the thread voting mechanism they have can be a very interesting way to sift through information, because it's a lot to sift through. YouTube, not as interactive, but my gosh, if you find something, contact the account holder. There are treasures on YouTube. Not all of them are true social media interactive, but Ancestry and other organizations, Jewish Gen, have wonderful videos and photos and everything else. Educational materials, well worth looking. if you want to know a little bit more about what it was like for your ancestors, I just tried searching immigrant ships 1900s, and there are wonderful videos of passengers landing, of the ships coming into harbor. And I'm not saying that you're going to spot one of your relatives. You might, I suppose, but you can really see what that day was like for them. There are movies, and they're posted online. So I tried looking for Pinsk, and people do heritage trips and they post their movies. And I was able to take a virtual ride down my grandfather's street. And some of it is still standing the way it was when he lived there. So that was a wonderful experience. And again, on YouTube, like everywhere else, more new every day. Keep checking. So then I tried something a little more exotic. I tried looking for Myadol, the town where my father's mother was from. And the first couple of hits are just not relevant. But then I found this, where that orange arrow is, local historians taking around a family that came to find their roots and to look at the memorial stone. And it's a series of short videos, but oh my gosh, the names that I saw and things that I was able to confirm, all sitting here at my desk. Try searching your surname. I found wedding videos, some of them old, some of them recent. None of these are my relatives, but my gosh, it's worth checking because somewhere out there is someone looking for this Meltzer-Bickel wedding in October of 1950. Think of what a treasure that is to someone who's looking for that part of their family. So absolutely check YouTube, check your surname. Then you can try other locations, American locations. The producer Jay Lurie put up some excerpts and some specialty reels from the documentaries on YouTube, so people can see those. So another thing social media can do for you very, very well is finding long lost relatives. If you've ever been to a big genealogy convention where there's like a family finder, like at IAJGS, the International Association of Jewish Genealogy Societies, if you go to their national conventions, there are their international conventions, you can register for the family finder and find other relatives looking for the same people. This is like a souped up function of the Jewish Gen Family Finder that's on the Jewish Gen site. I was looking for a long time for specific relatives of my mother's father that ended up coming to fruition this way. So when you do this, provide all known names used and post any available records. So if you want to know like what happened to these people's parents or these people's descendants, be very specific about who those people are. Note locations and years of residence. That is key. There are so many name alikes out there. Be as distinctive as you can. Use visuals. If you have a photo of the person or any immediate family member, even if it's not so clear, just post it. If not, post a photo of something that belonged to that person. If you don't have that, post a photo of something to represent the person's occupation or interest, but post a visual. Then post widely. As I said, if you are looking for long lost family, you can cross post, but say, I am posting this too, and name the groups. Then you wait, you see if people respond. Another thing you can try is sending private messages to people with the same surname on Facebook. LinkedIn is a good source too. And then you wait some more and see what happens. So I'm going to end with a case study. This is my mother's father's family and my mother's father. The little boy who the teacher renamed AB is in the upper right. His actual name was Gabriel, but in the United States he used Abraham. And this is the only photo that I had at that point of this part of the family. And this was taken in the United States in 1915. And I knew the names of his parents. but very little else. And the big mystery was his father, because he used Isaac in English, we think, some of the time, but there was some question about that. It turns out later on that he would change his first name to match that of the sitting president. He was very patriotic. So I posted to many groups. I got nowhere. I tried the Family Finder. I got nowhere. So I did the let's contact people on Facebook who have the last name that I'm looking for. And I found out that there were Seidelmans that were related to my family. And so I was looking for them. And I posted messages to people that I thought sort of looked reasonable. And I said, hi, I am trying to find the family of my great aunt, Rebecca Levine Seidelman, who was married to Aaron Seidelman, who lived on Broome Street in the 30s in Brooklyn. And here's their children. And if this is familiar, please contact me. And after about 14 years of the pre-internet solo searching method, jackpot, bingo. Of course, she knew who they were. They were her grandparents. And oh, was that a beautiful reunion? I am so glad that I got to do that, because unfortunately she passed away not long after this. And the thing that I wanted to know was about my grandfather's father. And unfortunately, she did not know that, but she had this. She had a picture of my Tante Rivka. And I was able to share this with my mom, who had not seen her Tante Rivka since the early 1940s. And there were no pictures of her in our part of the family. But my gosh, there she was on the phone. And it means so much to my mother to have this photo. And I never, ever, ever would have gotten there using traditional methods, because someone had this in their basement with the photos and wasn't quite sure who it was. But my mother was able to describe her such that they knew who it was. And I showed it to my mother, and she's, gosh, the sound she made, just the joyful exclamation that she made when she saw this photo. So social media for genealogy can be very good. It can be very frustrating. But eventually, if you stick with it, it absolutely will pay off. So thank you very much for inviting me, and I wish you all the very best of luck in your genealogy searching.
Thank you very much, Robin. Now, surprisingly enough, I'm going to go back and double check, but there were no questions posted to chat during your talk.
Okay.
Everybody was enthralled by what you were saying. However,
Someone,
now we
someone
can open it
asked,
up. If anybody
um,
has a question, please raise your virtual hand.
Marsha Bloomberg, if your melters are from Kuranitz or near Kuranitz, like Valeka, talk to me.
I'm sorry, so I didn't hear you. Say it again.
If your melters are from Kuranitz,
Well, my grandfather, Max Meltzer, was
yeah,
from Poland, but we don't know where.
uh-huh,
And he was born about in the late 1880s
uh-huh,
and came through Ellis Island to the Lower
right,
East Side,
uh-huh,
met my grandmother, Molly Rogowitz Meltzer,
uh-huh,
and they moved to New Britain, Connecticut,
uh-huh.
and then Boston.
Okay, well, if you find connections to Kuranitz or nearby, like Vileka, talk to me. But again, it's an occupational surname. There are Meltzer families in Syracuse to whom I am not related. And that
Right.
was interesting going through high school, okay, because the guidance counselors were constantly mixing us up. And they're like, aren't these your cousins? Like, some yes, some no. It just happens to
Right.
be people with the same last name moving to the same fairly small place. But there are essentially three clusters of Meltzer families in Syracuse. I am not related to the other two.
And I'm not related to Michael Bloomberg, who was mayor of New York.
Okay. But in terms of like non-traditional, social genealogy is a non-traditional method, and like things that your relatives can keep. I'll tell you what my family kept. That picture of my Zadie in the shoe store. his shoe repair place. This is the nail cup. They kept it. They kept it. Okay. So you'd think that the family that kept the nail cup from my grandpa and then before him, his father's shoe repair business might have taken pictures of Zadie at the bakery.
It's amazing they kept that.
I know. And it was it took a lot to get my parents to agree to let me have it. But for my younger daughter's bat mitzvah, it's like, okay, but she has to use it. So she gave a slideshow on family history and she held this up. She called it the family dingbat. It's cast iron.
Mm,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions for Robin, or is everybody just ready
I
to
see
dive
one
into
hand.
social media?
Diane. I see Diane's hand up, I think. No? No. All right. No, that's
I see no raised hands.
okay. All right.
So Robin, thank you very much for your very entertaining discussion of social media and all the warnings about it. And I'm very glad you had time to talk with us today. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Hold on, I got to check the piece of paper. Our next meeting will be July 13th, where Hal Bookbinder is going to be talking about the changing borders of Eastern Europe. One of those perennially interesting discussions. I hope all of you will be able to come back. And thank you all again for attending. Bye.